Hello, what's up YouTube? Today we're going to start our new Let's Play series playing the new game DC Universe Online. So DC Universe Online is an MMORPG by Sony Online Entertainment. This is a free-to-play game as of November the 1st, 2011. So as mentioned before, it is an MMORPG set in the DC Universe. And the concept of the game is for the player to create their dream hero or villain, who will either serve as good or evil by completing quests, aiding famous DC heroes or villains, entering alerts, or alerts can also be classed as dungeons for those of you who have played other MMORPGs. You will also play raids and PvP. If you don't know what the backstory is, then it's set in the DC universe where Brainiac has come to take over Earth, to which both heroes and villains must stop. So the game area is publicly shared instead of heroes and villains owning their own territory. Throughout the game you will defeat or fight alongside iconic heroes and villains of the DC universe. So that's a brief introduction of this game. So we'll head over to the first and one of the most anticipated features of the game, which is the character creation. So as you can see, I've already made 2 characters at the minute. This one is an electricity based superhero and my other one is a fire based villain. So they're both level 30, and it's worth mentioning that level 30 is the level cap for this game. So yeah, we'll go ahead and create our own character. So the first option that comes up is to select whether you want to play PvE or PvP. PvP means that you'll join a world where everybody can freely attack you. I think it is. I've never actually played PvP before, but I think that's the concept of it. So you could be running around doing a mission and some villain could come along, or another player can come along and attack you straight away. And PvE is just player versus environment, so it just means that if a player wants to have a fight with you, then they have to sort of press the duel button, I think it is. So we're going to go and press PvE, and there is a cutscene here, but we're just going to skip that at the minute because I don't want to see a cutscene. Right, okay, so the first option we have to pick is whether you want to be male or female. So we're going to go and pick male. And then this is your build type. So your build type is just how big or small you want your character to be. So you've got the large brute, the medium brute, and the small brute. And then you've got the striker, who is like a sort of average build hero, medium, small again. And then you've got the Spark, who is essentially just a teenager or a kid that you can pick. But we're just going to go with Striker Medium, I think. No, we're not. We're going to go with a large brute. So, in the character creation, I'm completely lost where I was going to say. So, the hero will be able to choose their mentor. This will affect their starting location, principal quest, rewards, and mob loot, all of which will be influenced by that decision. It sounds important, but it really isn't. I've sort of I usually pick the mentor, Superman, because I like all my superheroes to have their powers come naturally, I think it is. But it doesn't really matter what kind of mentor you pick. It's just it doesn't really make much of a difference. In the character creation, you're able to choose the attributes of your hero or villain through their abilities, strengths and weaknesses. When I say strengths and weaknesses, I don't mean you actually physically pick their strengths and weaknesses. It's sort of like depending on what power you will pick. So if you pick ranged and you're against someone who is a melee person, then there's sort of weaknesses there in both of them. So range can step back and keep out of the way of the melee attacks and just keep firing at the other player. In the melee one, if you can keep up close, then the ranged one isn't going to do that well. So that's what I mean by strengths and weaknesses. You can also change the visual appearances, name and costume through a series of options. So you might have seen there, I'll skip back, there is an inspired by option where you can make your hero or villain inspired by an iconic hero or villain. So you can be like a Batman inspired hero, Superman, Catwoman, Lex Luthor, Joker, The Flash, Wonder Woman, Deathstroke, Bane, Cersei, Beast Boy, Mr. Freeze, Green Arrow, Steel, Martian Manhunter, Black Lightning, Livewire, and if you have the expansion packs, then you can be the Green Lantern, Sinestro, and then if you've got the Earth expansion pack, it'll be Geoforce and Terra. But I don't really like to make my superhero inspired by anyone, so we're going to go ahead and click custom. So we've got to go and select our morality, which is just whether you want to be a hero or villain. And I've read in most forums where people think that the villains have a better storyline, or it's more exciting when you're playing through the missions. I've played hero and villain, and I must say villain feels a lot more fun. Hero gets a bit boring, so we're going to pick villain for this one. And then you get to select your personality. So your personality is basically just how you stand, really, just how you sort of. So I could stand in a primal position or a flirty position. I never ever pick flirty. It's so shit. Or comical. If you're like a clown sort of based character, you could pick that. But I always go for serious. I think powerful looks just too average, and serious just looks like a beast. So this is the mentor screen, as I was mentioning earlier. So if you pick hero, you'll get Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman. But for villains, you get the Joker, Lex Luthor and Cersei. So for this one, I'm just going to pick Lex Luthor. And then this is where you will select your power. So the power set will determine the character's combat role and strategy within the game. Each ability has two roles, where one will be DPS and the other either tank, healer or controller. So each power has their own sort of advantages and disadvantages. I've got electricity hero, and that is based on AoE attacks. AoE means area of effect, so it means that whenever I sort of activate one of my powers, it'll damage a group of mobs rather than just a single mob. And other powers will be more single target based powers. So for this one, because I've already got electricity and fire, which I really like. I like the electricity and fire, but because I've already got a character like that, I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick nature, because I started a villain nature based character before, and I quite liked it, but I was playing on the PS3, and to be honest, I like the PC version better. So we're going to go ahead and make that. So next we're on the movement mode, where you will select your movement mode, which affects the character's speed, movement style and maneuvers in combat. So we have flight, acrobatics and super speed. Flight sort of speaks for itself. You can fly around anywhere, and when you're in combat, it's quite good for ranged based powers, because you can just sort of fly up and sort of just fire from the skies, really. Acrobatics is sort of a mix between, well, it's just you can run slightly faster and you can sort of fly. You sort of glide, and it also gives you like sort of gadget style movements, sort of like Batman, where you use zip lines and stuff. And we have super speed, which again speaks for itself. Super speed, I think, is classed as the fastest way to travel. But I'm gonna pick acrobatics because that's gonna suit my character a lot more, the one that I want to make. So the next part is where you select your weapon. So each character has to have a weapon. You have to sort of pick the way you're going to attack when you're not spending powers. So each weapon is specialized in either ranged or melee abilities. However, each weapon uses both ranged or melee. So if I pick bow, I can use that as a melee weapon and a ranged weapon. However, it does specialize in ranged, so it'll do more damage when you're in range. But for this character, actually I'll just show you all the weapons anyway. So you've got brawling there, you've got dual pistols, you've got dual wield, which is where you dual wield swords, you've got hand blast, you've got martial arts, you've got one-handed, rifle, staff, two-handed, and if you have the new expansion pack, then you can get shield. So as I said before, we're going to go and pick brawling because that's going to suit my character. And there, so we've got our summary of basically how we've created the character so far. So the next part is the biggest part of character creation, which is the costume. So the costume is what will define your character in the DC universe. The costume pieces are rather limited, I think, compared to Champions Online that we've been playing. Because I think Champions Online has a lot more options to pick for the gear that you sort of wear. However, throughout the time that you do spend in the game, you obtain new items that unlock new costume styles which alter your character's appearance. So if you're doing a mission and you get a quest reward item, which could be some sort of helmet, once you equip that helmet, it'll change the style of the helmet that you've already got equipped. So if I'll describe it a bit more when we start playing the game, and I'll tell you then, because it'll be a bit easier to describe when it happens. So we're gonna go ahead and create the costume. So we're gonna go and pick body and skin. So for this part, you can pick the different skin for your character. So this is the default skin, which is just normal human skin. And next we have the